Okay, so yesterday we worked on how to multiply binomials. We talked about two methods, the FOIL, the distributive, or using the box method. Tonight we want to talk about multiplying a binomial, two terms, there's one term and two terms, times a trinomial, because this has one, two, three terms. And remember, this number here and this number here are called the constants, because they are the number without a variable. I also want you to start remembering the terminology coefficient. 3 is a coefficient of x, 2 is a coefficient of x squared, and -4 is a coefficient of x. Your coefficient is the leading number multiplied by the variable. So two new words you need to remember. Constant, which is a number without a variable by itself, and then coefficient is the number before the variable. So there's several methods we can use to multiply a binomial times a trinomial. One would be to set it up sort of like when you multiply two-digit numbers by a 3 or 4-digit number. What we want to do here is treat this as if you were multiplying it by like 312 times 11. If we were multiplying that, you would multiply 1 times 2, which would give you 2, 1 times 1, which would give you 1, and 1 times 3, which would give you 3. Then, when you get to this number, the one that's in the tens digit, you have to put the 0 to replace for that place value. And then again, you do the 1 times 2, which is 2, and the 1 times 1, which is 1, and the 1 times 3, which is 3. And then if you remember, we add these together. And then we'll get 2, 3, 4, and 3. We want to use that exact same logic when multiplying this trinomial by the binomial. So I already have them set up, stacked. We want the trinomial on top and the binomial on bottom. And we're going to multiply this -1, remember the sign's got to go in front of it, by each term. So just like in the method previous, do -1 times 3, and we put -3. And then we're going to do -1 times -4x. So that would be -1 times -4x. That would give me a positive, negative times negative is a positive, positive 4x. And then we're going to do -1 times 2x squared, which of course would give us -2x squared. And just like when you're multiplying by two-digit numbers, when we start here, we need to put a 0 to hold its place value. And then we're going to multiply 3x times 3, which will give us 9x. And you'll see that the like terms should line up here, x over x. Then we're going to do 3x times -4x, which will give us -12x squared, and that was a positive, so we're going to put positive here. And then 3x times 2x to the third, that's going to give us a 6x to the third. I could have lined that up a little bit better. Now, just like before, we're going to add them up. So -3 and 0 will give you -3. 4x and 9x, those are like terms. Actually, I'm going to write those down there. Sorry, that got in the way. Okay, got rid of that, sorry. So -3 and 0 is -3. Then we have 4x and 9x. That gives you a positive 13x. And then our x squareds are lined up. We have -2 and -12. So it's going to give you -14x squared. Those are like terms. And then we have 6x to the third, no other x to the third, so it just goes here. And then that's my answer. 6x to the third minus 14x squared plus 13x minus 3. And that is a polynomial, and we need to make sure we have it in descending order. My highest exponent is 3, then 2, then 1, then none. So you can do this multiplication method, but you can also use the box method that we learned last night with the binomials, but we'll just put the trinomial across the top. So if we're going to use the box method, we have 3x and 2x squared. That's going to give you 6 x. And then don't forget that's x to the 1, so 1 plus 2 makes that x to the third. And then this box we have negative 4x and 3x. That's going to give us a negative 12x. And then this box we have 3x times 3, and that's going to give us 9x. And we start in the bottom box. 2x squared minus 1 is negative 2x squared. This box, negative 4x and negative 1, negative and a negative makes a positive, so that's going to give you 4x. And then here we have 3 times negative 1, that's going to give you a constant of negative 3. And then just like with the box method, uh-oh, I messed up. This should be x squared, right? The reasons I knew I messed up is because these should be like terms, and they weren't. So I went over here and looked, oh, I messed that up. That's x and x, that should be x squared. So now my like terms match up this way. Those are like terms. And then these are like terms, just as with a binomial. So I start with this one. I have 6x to the third. Then my like terms, negative 12 and negative 2, that's negative 14, x squared, like terms. Then positive 4x and 9x, that's going to give me 13x. And then we just have one constant, so minus 3. So you can see that my two answers here match up perfectly. So you can choose whichever method you want to do it. You can also use the distributive method with this. It just gets a little bit messy. You can multiply each one of those by 3x, and then you multiply each one of them by negative 1. The only problem with that method is you have to go through and find all your like terms. With this method, the like terms are already lined up for you. And in this method, the like terms are diagonal, so it's a little bit easier to pick out. So what I want you to do next is copy this problem down, choose one of the methods that I showed you, and complete it. Then I want you to take your answer and plug it into your calculator and describe what the graph of this, multiplied out equation looks like. And do your homework because you don't want to look like a zombie. Good night.